Well, I take myself back to that room in Townsville in 1986 when we had a gathering of a large number of conservation groups from across Australia that was hosted by NQCC, the Rainforest Action and Information Network. And it was sort of a culmination of a lot of advocacy work and a lot of political work. So there was a lot of feeling of excitement and tension, and are we actually going to win this issue, if you can ever win an environmental issue, but make a big step forward in terms of ending some of the destructive practices that were going. So I remember that feeling of sort of excitement and tension. And we had been working closely with the national groups, the Australian Conservation Foundation and the Wilderness Society, as well as the two main local groups, the NQCC based in Townsville and CAFNEC, the Cancer Far North Environment Centre, and also the Australian Rainforest Conservation Foundation in Brisbane, the Tropical Rainforest Society, which was an organisation that ran in Cairns for a number of years. So we had a lot of different groups. We had found out through the work of the political lobbyists, primarily I think in the ACF, that the federal government was interested in taking a stronger position on rainforest to the next election, which was the 1987 federal election. And they were interested to find out what sort of position would be supported by the environment movement widely. So I think the purpose of this meeting was to really get everyone in the room and agree on what protection of the rainforest would look like that we would support. And there was a bit of a last minute move by one of the southern groups that it would be enough if they just promised to protect the virgin rainforests. That for the local groups had been working here, doing the the protest actions at Downy Creek and at Mount Windsor Tableland and the Daintree Road. We all knew that there were hardly any virgin rainforests left. So protecting only the virgin rainforest would not have been enough. We really needed logging to be ended across the whole of the Wet Tropics and opportunity given for the forest to recover and no longer be subject to timber extraction. And so we had a bit of a working group that night where we stayed up putting on a map where the remaining virgin rainforests are. And this was, not always so easy as it would be today because we didn't have satellites up there doing, daily mapping. We didn't have Google Map, we didn't have email, we didn't have all of the resources that we've got now, but we did have enough information to really be able to identify those virgin areas. And then we presented the map the next day, and to our great relief, all of the different organisations who are represented there agreed that the protection of the rainforest that we would support, that we would say was a good policy, was to end rainforest logging throughout the whole of the Wet Tropics and to put it on the World Heritage List. And that was really important because we needed people to be able to publicly support that. It was not going to be an easy policy with some parts of society, the workers' unions who had people employed in the mills and the owners of the mills. Obviously, there was going to be a transition. Of course, the federal government did come up with a structural adjustment package so that people were able to transition to other work and mills were able to transition to milling other sorts of timber. But nevertheless, it was a very big fight. And it was great that we were able to come together to that common position at that time, and it held together quite well. There were a few people who went off script in saying, "Oh, well, maybe it could be just the virgin rainforest," but we were able to get back on the phone and talk to people and say, "Oh, hang on, we had that big meeting and we all agreed that we needed an end to logging throughout the Wet Tropics and we needed World Heritage listing," and then generally the environment movement held its position. And, we had a government elected with that policy, and Senator Richardson became the new Environment Minister. Before that, we'd had Minister Cohen, who wasn't so keen at all on, really fighting for the rainforest. And Senator Richardson, I think made history in ending the logging and nominating the area for World Heritage listing.
And what was it like
It was a
when
fun
that
time.
finally happened?
I think it was a very busy time, and of course it doesn't ever finally happen. So in terms of protection, I always say you never protect anything, you only just keep it to fight another day. And so we had the Bjelke-Petersen government in Queensland still went on the World Heritage List. They weren't voted out until 1989. So there was still a fight going on in court between the federal government and the state government about whether logging could continue, even though it was on the World Heritage List by then. And of course, then, when the Goss government was elected, then there started to be cooperation between the two levels of government. But the next thing that happened was they proposed to build a dam inside the World Heritage Area, the Tully Millstream Dam. So then there was another whole campaign that was fought over that.